Well, as the model trends have continued to push south, the National Weather Service has reflected that in their new winter storm warnings that have been issued. It includes New York City, Long Island, and points to the south. This is one heck of a storm. It's bringing a lot of wind. It's going to bring a big snow to the northeast, and we've even got some snow back across Kentucky, and yes, even parts of Tennessee to talk about in the video today. Some areas that aren't under any winter storm warnings right now, and I think this is something to watch: northeastern West Virginia into the higher mountains from Elkins to the northeast. The potential for some heavier snow here. Also, look at this strong snow showing up now into southern and central Pennsylvania. This is a lot further south than what we were looking at a couple of days ago. If you watched the video that I put out last night, I said, look, I'm sold on a further south trend. This morning, the same thing, and I'm telling you tonight, I'm feeling it too. A little bit further to the south, and again, that's being reflected here, not just in the latest runs of the models, but also in the National Weather Service warnings that, again, have shifted further to the south. Let's take a look at these warnings a little bit closer. Winter storm warning now for New York City all the way to the tip of Long Island. Now we have winter storm warnings for Newark and areas to the north. So Poughkeepsie, Hartford, New Haven, you're still under the winter storm warnings all the way back into northwest New Jersey, again, even parts of central New Jersey. And this may not be far enough south down to Trenton, over to Philadelphia, and then even back here to Baltimore. You're now in the game for some snow. The heaviest snow will still likely be to your north, but right along that Pennsylvania-Maryland border, the potential for some heavier amounts, I think, are there. Let's look at a few more warnings before we get into the numbers. Winter storm warnings now for State College, all the way back west to Johnstown, not quite to Bradford. This shows you guys that strong shift that we've seen to the south and east. Williamsport winter storm warnings, that puts you in the winter storm warnings now for Harrisburg. Gettysburg, not quite, but I think the potential for you to pick up on some heavy snow is there as we see that trend off to the south and east. A little bit further to the south and west, we now have winter weather advisories for parts of northern Virginia up along the I-81 corridor from really north of Harrisonburg. So now we're talking about up toward Winchester, Leesburg, up into Baltimore, as I mentioned, western Maryland, and a good part of central Maryland, really. And then once you get back into far western Maryland and the panhandle of West Virginia, winter storm warnings for heavy snow. Off to the north and east, we've clearly seen the shift of the warnings here too. Springfield now just under a winter weather advisory. We had winter storm warnings earlier. Those have now been shifted south as that threat for heavy snow has shifted to the south. The facts have changed in the data that everyone is looking at, and it's clear here with the National Weather Service warning pushing all the way out to Nantucket, up to Boston. Heavy band of snow looks likely now from Newport up to Providence, all the way back into Connecticut. We're talking about Waterbury, Bristol, Hartford, New London. It's all the way down to the coast here and across the Sound over to Long Island. We're going to get windy conditions too. Gusts could be over 40. That's going to cause drifting snow. It's going to be one heck of a storm for the Northeast. We've also got winter weather advisories on the backside of this system as it moves through Kentucky tonight. From Lexington back to Frankfort, not to Louisville, but south of that, the heavy snow will be over towards Campbellsville, Bowling Green, all the way south into parts of Tennessee. A lot of rain moving through this area, but some of that transitioning over to snow up underneath the upper low. Winter weather advisory is now out for Crossville and Cookeville once you hop up on the Cumberland Plateau, just north of Nashville. And again, the best chance for snow will be right here in the counties and the counties bordering the ones that are right along that Kentucky line. So let's take you into Kentucky and Tennessee. Again, the heaviest amounts will be right here along the Tennessee border, up into the Cumberland Plateau. Higher amounts up into parts of Kentucky. I wouldn't be shocked if someone gets a surprise dump of snow. We saw that back across Missouri. I think someone could see 5 up to 6 inches, but most of you will see a good swath of 2 to 4 inches here. And that snow will pick up into southern West Virginia and southwest Virginia, even the mountains of western North Carolina early on Tuesday. But the heaviest snow will be here. And again, no warnings out here for northern West Virginia. We're in that time zone when you start looking at these shorter range models. And this is the HRRR showing the higher elevations of northeastern West Virginia. Some of these areas could be seeing 6 inches or more. And what concerns me is this strip here right across northern Virginia. Everything over blue is more than 2 inches, so I think someone sees a good 2 to 4 inches, and that reflects most of these winter weather advisories. But the heaviest snow now is still going to be right in here across parts of southern Pennsylvania, even central Pennsylvania, and now dead center into New York City. What's going to be interesting is on the southern side of this, do we see mixing with sleet or possibly a mix of rain and snow at the onset? That would eat in any snow totals. The latest NAM model is super bullish on pulling that colder air into parts of New Jersey with that deepening storm. That puts snow all the way down into Delaware with some heavier snow, I think, possible for Maryland if this comes to pass. I'm going to go back to the 12Z run, which was a little bit further to the north. I trust this run a little bit better just because it's the 12Z run that initializes with more data. But look, we're still talking talking about the potential for snow here, especially into New York City and into Long Island. The newest run a little bit further to the south, but now we're getting to the point, guys, where the rubber meets the road, really looking at these short range models to get an idea of where things will set up. If you're in Ohio, this is south of you. I was saying that yesterday, Northeast Ohio, Northern Ohio, it's not your snow. It's going to be well to your south and east. And not only is it not even, I thought for sure we would see it, especially a couple of days ago. It looked like Western New York from Binghamton north would get it. We had winter storm warnings here. Now everything has clearly shifted off to the south and east. It just shows you guys the complexity of forecasting a storm that just has so many variables at play. Weather.gov is where you need to go to get the latest warnings, because these could be upgraded tonight. Make sure you stay abreast of what's going on. Here comes our system through the mid-Atlantic heading into tomorrow. And let me tell you something. I'm seeing literally 4 shots of snow possible for the Northeast over the next week. I'm not kidding. Let's take a look at that, okay? So we'll start with this storm here going through the Northeast. Let's look at those numbers again one more time. This is the latest GFS, really blowing that storm up once it gets off the coast. It's going to put a lot of snow down, not just here into the Northeast, but once it moves away from Maine. Again, I think Maine misses the brunt of it. Nova Scotia, I think, is going to pick up on some snow, and even further into the Northeast here into Newfoundland. And then the storm just gets going big time off the North Atlantic. Now, the latest HRRR doesn't quite go out that far. It's only going out to 18 hours. But the latest run that takes it out through tomorrow puts that heavier band right here. And it's interesting. Look how far south it is. My goodness, we're talking about pushing it down almost into southern New Jersey. Not quite clearly, but right to that Maryland, southern Pennsylvania border. This gets you in Philadelphia. This clearly keeps you solid into New York City and Long Island. And look, if you're in northern Connecticut, it's almost ripping you off on the snow. It's trying to keep the snow south of Boston. So here's your snow totals again. This is the NAM further to the south. So I think we're seeing 3 to 6 into Philadelphia. Some isolated areas, more than that, maybe 4 to 8. And I'm telling you, I think somebody's going to get a foot plus in this area. I've always felt that way. We're talking about over an inch to an inch and a quarter of precipitation falling liquid equivalent. That's going to translate, even if you went with a 10-to-1 ratio, which I think it's going to be much heavier, somebody gets 10 inches of snow to a foot, especially in areas where it overachieves and you get that banding happening, which I think will set up. Once we're done with this storm, I'm telling you guys, 4 chances of snow for the Northeast over the next week. There's your first chance. Here comes the second system, a clipper system, if you will, through the Great Lakes. That's going to bring some light snow, I think, to Wisconsin and Michigan heading into Thursday. Another system moving into the west. This one, though, moves right toward the Northeast. A little too warm for snow south of it, but it may end up some snow showers into the mountains here. But there's your second shot of snow with a clipper system, a couple of inches with it. And then here comes our Arctic air. With this front, we're going to see another round of light snow, I think, as we move toward Friday and Saturday for the Northeast and even down to the Appalachians. This is a big trough here in the east, guys, and the potential for a fourth system. Now, this may be a clipper system that moves through the Northeast. I'm not so sure about this last one. But either way you shake it out, it's going to be cold for the Northeast. Now, for the South, it looks fairly mild here. It's going to be cold across the northern tier, but, really across the South, not bad. No big-time winter outbreaks for you guys, but as we move toward the weekend, this blast of cold air tries to push all the way down into parts of Tennessee, Arkansas, maybe even Oklahoma. That's going to bring another shot of some below normal temperatures. But we rebound quickly here, and then that cold really is diving into the Great Lakes, into the Northeast as we move into the weekend and then into early next week. And then there comes that storm across California with milder temperatures rebounding back early next week across the center part of the country with more cold air building across the north. And I think this stormy pattern continues. We may shift the storm track a little bit as we move into the next week. But either way, this looks busy. I think we're just getting going. I think March is going to come in like a lion, and it's going to stay crazy. Thanks for subscribing, guys. If you've not subscribed, I want to, again, thank you guys so much. The channel here hit 4,000 subscribers just yesterday, and that's in just over a month and a half. So thank you guys so much for your faith in watching the videos here, and I hope to see you back. Leave me a comment below. Let me know how much snow you're seeing. I'd love to hear those numbers, especially as we see that snow work across parts of Kentucky, maybe even Tennessee, and then eventually into the Northeast.